Helen, we've got with us Mark, and we've got Grace with us, and they just did a great set.
They certainly did.
And they're from a different part of the country, too, which is kind of fun to have somebody in here from Rhode Island and Massachusetts in one evening. This is great.
Yeah. I guess my first question is, how did you guys meet up and start touring?
At one of the IRFAs. At
Yes,
NERFA.
that's right.
Are you
NERFA?
familiar? Yes. Are you familiar with the IRFAs?
More
I know
Swerfa.
Swerfa.
Well,
Yeah.
this is the North.
The Northeast
What is it? Susie?
Regional
Northeast
Folk
Regional
Alliance.
Folk Alliance.
Okay, so
So you go around, you've seen these things, you play all
Yeah.
these showcases and what have you, and I'm sure that's. I
Yeah.
don't remember.
We
that
met up
because-
at the
Yeah.
last NERFA.
Okay.
And I was I was a fangirl.
All right.
And then we started talking about that we should go on a trip. And
I do
then-
remember seeing Grace in
then
a
we did.
showcase, and it's what they're for. Like it had that effect.
Right.
On me.
No.
I saw her and I was like,
Ken
I like.
Ken Gaines has tried
Yeah.
to get us to come to
Yeah.
Swerfa for years, but
Yeah.
we have things that conflict with it every year doing what we're doing
Yeah,
here.
Ken is he always has great showcases.
Yeah.
And but that's what happened. I heard Grace sing from my end, and I remember you see so many people,
oh yeah.
and it was one of the ones where I'm like, oh no, that I like, So and then I guess somehow we all got to talking, but that's what got me going.
And so while we're on this now, tell us about this tour.
Well, this is our third engagement. We started in New Mexico.
Okay.
Okay.
And so for me, we drove from Massachusetts with my 1-year-old to New Mexico, and I was looking at a map. We had planned
That is
this
a
for
lot
a
of
while.
miles.
And I was looking
man.
at a map, not fully believing that we were actually going to complete that journey. But we did.
Yeah.
We did. And you had
And I went
similar.
to New Orleans, like I said earlier, and there was a music conference as well, and then I stayed. Susie, my pal, and I stayed for a week in New Orleans, and then went out to New Mexico. So it's been a nice time so far.
And where are you going from here?
Austin tomorrow.
Austin tomorrow.
And then?
Okay.
Then Austin again.
Austin again on Friday.
And then Eastland.
Eastland, Texas for a house concert.
Right.
And then Oklahoma City at the Blue Door. The world
Okay, that's
famous
a good
Blue Door.
place. Good place. Good
Yeah.
place.
And then it's we shake hands by the side of the highway, and that's it.
Yep.
Wow.
Interstate 40.
No, just
Hit Interstate 40.
yeah, see ya.
You guys,
Break the team up right there.
let's go kind of back to basics with both of y'all real quick. We mentioned earlier that you're from Rhode Island, you're from Massachusetts, but Grace,
I live in Rhode Island. Sorry.
okay, Grace, let's start with you. Where were you born and raised?
Wareham, Massachusetts, the
And-
gateway to Cape Cod and home of Gina Davis.
And you still live
right.
there?
Just the next town over, yes.
Okay. And Mark, same question.
I was born in Port Chester, New York, home of the world famous Capitol Theater, and grew up in Westchester County, which is just out north of New York City. Rye, New York, and New Rochelle, New York.
And
Right up north of the Bronx.
where did y'all get started musically, individually? So I'll go back to you, Grace. Let's go to the ladies first here.
Oh gosh, it's
What
such,
got you started? You grew up in Massachusetts,
such a long tale.
right out on the way to Cape Cod, and somehow you got into music. What
Hey,
was
that
that?
ocean would be the motivator.
So when I was a little kid, and really up until the point that I started writing songs, I hid either under my mother's shirt or behind her. And the thought of having to interact with any other human brought me this. Like,
Oh,
it just
wow.
wasn't doable. And my dad tried to get me into soccer. And I was totally on board for soccer. And I remember showing up in our 1976 Ford LTD. It was yellow, and I had the I had a whole thing. And then we got there, and I realized that there was other kids.
Yeah.
And I didn't get out of the car.
Oh wow.
And so
Now that would be the time for your dad to say, "Grace, cut the shit."
yeah, no, but they didn't. I mean, it was
Shit,
they
Grace.
didn't. And so put me in piano lessons, which was more my speed because it was just me and a little old lady, and that was my comfort zone. And I played piano, and then at some point when I was 12, Hanson came out. And are you familiar with Hanson? Mm-hmm. And I was going to meet them and marry one. It didn't matter which one.
Right.
And the clear path to doing that was to be a songwriter. And that's why I started writing songs.
Hey,
That's
that's
so
reason enough.
lame, but it's the truth.
No.
Most guys will tell you the reason they started playing music was for girls. So I mean,
yeah.
it's not an unusual thing. I would
Yeah.
expect it.
And it brought you out of your shell, because I would not known that you were that painfully shy as a child.
Oh, it's awful. And I think now I still have touches of it. When you're on a stage, there's this, you feel like there's a protection, something about
there's the third wall. Right?
yeah, the mic and the
Except
guitar, and
in-
you're in control.
Except
Yeah.
in this room where people are awful close together.
And all eyes are on you.
But in any sort of normal human interaction, it's still kind of back to
So how old were you when you started singing and writing?
12.
When you're writing as well?
Yes.
Did you immediately start writing?
I heard Hanson and I said, I've got to do that.
You've got to write
And
as
then I
well.
just did.
Okay.
That's great.
Very cool. And now, what type of places in your area, in your circle of vision where you play regularly, what type of places do you play?
Well, I'm really focusing on listening rooms, doing a lot of house concerts and places where people listen, because
Good idea.
the bar scene, you get kind
Bar
of
scene's not
burned
good.
out.
No, wineries can be good.
Yes,
you know,
yes, people are a little bit
A
quieter
little bit more
there.
artful. And you can almost request it there. You
Yes.
know, they appreciate it, you know.
Yeah.
So, Mark, let's go over to you real quick. Same series of questions.
Well, as far as starting, I held it in abeyance. Like, I didn't really even get a guitar till I was my first year. I went to college in Boston for a year at Northeastern University before they threw me out. But I learned to play guitar. My mother was a singer, like I said, but that really had very little influence. I had two older brothers. One was really in the music business out in L.A. and whatever.
Your mom was a big band singer.
She was a
You said
big
that,
band singer, wonderful singer. But so they did it, but I really didn't. I always wanted to play the wooden guitar and sing songs. Sit on a stool and be Jim Croce or something like that. But I didn't get to it till I was there in Boston, and I had a guitar, and it came pretty quickly. So I was able to do it.
But you wanted to.
I wanted to,
So,
absolutely.
yeah.
I felt like I could. And again, to meet the girls, I had a buddy who already had a guitar, and I noticed they were paying attention to him, and that pissed me off. So I went, and I had to have one, and so I got a gig almost right away.
And you mentioned Jim Croce. What was he one of the people that would you say influenced your
no,
writing?
not particularly, but I just all
I
those
know
guys,
one guy that influenced.
Yeah,
your
like
writing.
I really was as a kid, because I was a kid in the 1980s when MTV was happening. Yet I had a weird circle of friends who were listening to the Eagles and got deep into it, like Richie Furay and stuff like that. James Taylor, all the classic things, Jackson Brown, that really weren't happening at the time. But the idea that you could make up a song and play it, without anybody else appealed to me, because I wasn't interested in being necessarily in a band. So I didn't start bands like in the garage or anything like that.
You didn't do the band thing.
I didn't do any of that. I came to it later. I've since been in bands, and I understand that dynamic, and I loved the music that bands made. I was, a rock and roll fan, but I came to it. I ended up in Florida, actually, in North Florida, started writing songs.
So let me ask you one, just to follow up on this, and then I'm going to let Helen ask a couple of questions. So, to both of you, at what point in time in your life did you realize you could write well enough for people to pay you to do this?
That's a fun question, because I thought that I could, and in hindsight, it was not good. I had confidence in it. I just had confidence in it from the get-go. Although it wasn't good. I started performing right away, and
You made it good, because you were good tonight.
Yes,
thank you.
were.
Well, it's taken a long time, and it's cringeworthy to listen to the old things. But I started performing right away. There was this little coffee shop that opened up near me, and I went in with my guitar and tried out, and they let me play. And I'm really grateful that they did.
That hooks you, doesn't
and
it?
nobody told me I was terrible, thank heaven. So
Well, they wouldn't have probably let you come in and play if they thought you were terrible. So, yeah.
Yeah, they don't want you in there.
They don't want you running their business off.
But yeah, I always felt confident in it. That has waned a little bit now.
And that was young for you, but Mark's up in college, and all of a sudden he picks up a guitar and he starts listening to singer-songwriters and the Eagles and people the Eagles are a bunch of singer-songwriters.
They are.
basically.
Essentially.
So, same story with you. When did you figure out you could, make some money from
It was different
this?
for me because I was asked to leave Northeastern University, and I ended up down in Florida, and in a town called St. Augustine, there was a room called the Milltop, and it was a listening room. And
Near Flagler College?
Yeah. And I went up these long stairs. There was a guy named Don Ojadunaway, who's a real Florida legend. I think this year he got into the Florida Songwriters Hall of Fame. And he just blew my mind and turned me on to Mac McAnally and all these like songwriters. So it hit my mind like you could be a songwriter guy, you know, like that. But somewhere within that, I had to go get a job after that. I was running out of steam, and it lasted for about a week at a place. And I'd made up a song, really almost like the first real song I made up, called Stephen Marshall, and it went to one of those contests, the Swanee Spring Fest, in Florida, and I won it. So I remember.
That'll get you hooked.
Yeah, that made me feel like, well, this is suddenly you're on a big stage and you're playing and everybody's telling you you wrote this great song. So I thought, well, this is the life for me. You know, it's been one long day since then is what it feels like. I've never really looked back, you know. Yeah.
So have you been married previously or have any children?
I was married to the Gabor sisters in 1950.
Yeah, right.
No, I raised 2 children. They're stepchildren, but I was never actually married. I was moving around.
Yeah.
You know, so much. You just don't really get around to that, and you look up and a lot of time goes by and you have to make that choice.
Yeah. Well, it's a hard, being a songwriter and being on the road is a tough life, and you really, I guess, being single, you are able to do it more.
I suppose. I mean, there's something to be said for that. There's also something to be said for having a family and someone to report back to.
Yeah.
You have to have someone to document your adventures out there. I came to realize that's important as well.
Well, you got Susie for that.
I could talk to Susie about a lot of things. We just stay up all night fighting.
And you, I know you say you have the 1-year-old, and God love you. I would never get in the car and drive as far as you did with the 1-year-old child.
He was so good.
You are so lucky. That's all I can say.
I know.
And you said that you also have stepdaughters, right?
I do, 3 of them.
Are they? How old are they?
They are 13 and 17 and 18.
Wow. Fun.
Estrogen ocean.
Yeah, no kidding. A bunch of hormones.
Oh, yeah.
Now, are you the only musical?
I think about that all the time. Like, that's gotta really stink having your stepmom be closer to your age than to your dad.
Are anybody else in your family musical, or is it just you?
My great grandmother was a piano player for silent movies.
Oh, wow.
But she died in 1954. I never really got to meet her.
Yeah.
So kind of just me, but I met my husband because I was teaching his daughter how to play the piano.
Oh.
And so she's the sweetest, and she said to me this, she had never sung for me. I never heard her sing, and she said to me on December 31st, my New Year's resolution is to learn how to harmonize all of your songs and go on tour with you.
Oh, wasn't that cool?
And she had been so scared to sing for me, like she would shake at the thought of singing for me, but she did it.
Wow.
She's learned all of my songs, so I'm hoping that...
That's wonderful.
Very nice.
Yeah, I'm really proud of her.
Very cool. She's getting over that shy hump.
Yep.
Watch out.
I know.
So let me ask a question to both of you individually, and that is, what is something you've always wanted to do musically that you feel like is on your hit list? Honestly speaking.
You mean playing somewhere particular?
Playing somewhere or to do something different? Have you ever wanted to be in a play or a musical, or take what you do?
I always thought I'd make
something?
a really, really good drummer in a rock band.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm waiting for that call.
All right.
So
Go
that
to
would
see
be
bands, and I think, man, I can do that. So yeah. Yeah.
That's okay. That's a good thought. Something you've always wanted to do. Music.
I would love to compose a score for a movie.
Well, we know some producers, so
Yes, we do. Get
I think
busy.
that would be so cool.
You know some producers? Oh, I'd like to amend mine. I'd like to score for a movie.
Actually, are you familiar with the Providence 48-Hour Film Festival?
I am.
So I found a team for that.
Mm.
So I'm gonna try anyway. I don't know that I'll be good at it.
I will say I am absolutely do love movie music, scoring, that kind of thing. It's very moving. I actually have written songs because of the orchestral scores of movies have moved me so much. You go home and then you write something down. It's a very moving thing.
Yeah.
I think
Pictures
a lot of
and music together are very
And
a
the
lot
level,
of songwriters too can get lines from movies to
big time.
Yeah.
Well, it's dramatic.
Situations,
It's all laid out there
right.
for you. It's,
Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No. The other thing would just be so cool to get a song that I wrote in a movie.
Mm-hmm.
Or a TV show. I'm not particular.
Yeah.
Right.
So, one other question I'll ask, and then I give it back to Helen. If you could write a song with anyone alive today, who would that be?
Well, like JD, Souther.
Me too.
That would be something. Those kind of guys. Those are the guys. But JD, I really think honestly, I think I would pick that. I feel like we'd get along. I think I'd have a shot at it. Yeah.
I don't know if it's the Richard Dreyfuss thing for me, but I could really see you being an actor in comedic roles, and I really think that if you ever get a wild hair,
Have you heard my
that
songs? They're all in acts. The whole thing's in
well, yeah, no, I'm just your persona and your. I think you do really
I don't
well.
have any interest in that.
Ah,
But you've got
that's too bad.
charisma.
Well,
You have a stage presence. You have a good
I'm on
stage
a tremendous
presence.
amount of pills right now.
And that same
Oh,
question
yeah?
to you, Grace.
I want some.
That same question to you, Grace.
So I got to do that. I wrote with Lori McKenna, and
Okay.
she's she and Liz Rose, and Hillary, whose last name I can't think of. The three of them write together a lot of really big country hits, and so I got to do that.
Oh, neat.
Okay.
But if I could write with Liz Rose, that would be cool.
There you go.
Do you, this question is for both of you. When you write a song, do you normally get the lyrics first, or do you come up with the melody first and then find the words for that?
99% of the time for me, it's all together. There's been 2 times when I just got words, and then the music came later. But most of the time, it's all.
Well, aren't you lucky?
Well, it seems so much harder to do it another way
Yeah.
to me. Yeah.
Okay. What about you, Mark?
Similar. I have to have the instrument in hand and sort of find something, and then something kind of happens. If you spend enough time, something will happen.
Mm-hmm.
So it tends to come together, little phrases, something, a piece of something.
Yeah.
And then you go back, and
Yeah.
occasionally they all come at once. I've had that happen, and that's... The best songs, I think, are the ones, I can't really remember exactly how it happened. I just know that
they
it
write
happened.
themselves.
Yeah, but it happened fast.
Mm-hmm.
And then it exists. It's an amazing... It's still a mystery, an amazing mystery.
So do you feel like, either one of you, do you feel like you've written your perfect song yet?
No.
Every time I hear one of his songs, I'm like, oh, I'm not good at this. I better work harder.
Let me tell you, when I hear the people that come in here, I look at Rainey and I'm like, what the hell am I doing this for? There is so much talent and so many people
And
that
you're
are
doing
so
it
much
because
better.
you're good at it. That's why you do
I
it.
think you have
Yeah.
to get to a place where you receive that, and you know that you be inspired by seeing great things. And there is a lot of great songwriters, great singers. It's more than ever. But you have to kind of defend what you are and what you can be. You can't start to chase that too much. But if you find your little, your place, what you are and what you're trying to say, it's okay to kind of run that down and be that person. That's what I have found after 30 years of, obscurity and such. It's like, just try to be what you are, and don't try to be everything, because there's so much stuff that could take you away. Like, you could be blessed with too many choices.
That's a really good point.
So other than today, if you could write and play in any musical era of time, what would that time be?
I know for me, I know this. I was so built for that sort of 70s period, and I believe I've thought this out, between like 1975 and 1982, I would have been perfect for that.
Thrived.
Yeah.
That would be great.
What about you?
I have always loved the music of the 50s and 60s. I just
Yay.
2 girls
I'm kinda with
for
you, yeah.
every boy.
And the guys all like that line too.
That's a great line. That's the one guy
Why
that can
can't
go
we
like,
write anything like that, Mark?
well, that's why I'm hoping to get some movie music made.
My favorite one's Bimbo, though.
Bimbo. Right.
Do you guys know Bimbo? People don't. This is an underappreciated
No.
song.
No.
Sing it.
Play it for us.
Come on.
I'll just give you a little bit. Bimbo is a little boy who's got a million friends, and every time he passes by, they all invite him in. He'll clap his hands and sing and dance and talk his baby talk. With a hole in his pants and his knees sticking out, he's just big enough to walk. Bimbo, bimbo, where you gonna go, yo? Bimbo, bimbo, what you gonna do, yo? Bimbo, bimbo, does your mama know that you're going down the road to see your little girlie, yo?
You know
That's the
what?
music of my soul.
Was that all the way from New Mexico on that one? Or?
That's a Jim Reeves
I
song.
thought
Yeah,
it was a
yeah.
Zeppelin song.
My dad used to sing that to me.
You know,
Oh,
you know
wow.
who is starting to hit me? Who she reminds me of a little bit?
Who?
Gabby.
Oh
They
yeah, a
remind
little
me a
bit.
little bit. I'm talking about you, Gabs, back there.
Y'all have been an absolute joy, and I really hope that the next time you're coming through, that you'll come and do a show, house concert, and that's
We can plan that.
yeah,
I will
yeah,
come running. I'm
Yeah.
sure you will too.
I
yeah.
love that.
We would love to have y'all. That'd be awesome.
Excellent.
And I wish you the very best on the rest of your tour. Y'all be safe
Thank you.
on the highway. Watch out for the crazies, because there's
Watch
a lot
out
of
for
them
us.
out
And
there.
once again, thanks to Susie for introducing
Oh,
Susie
absolutely.
Markland. Thank you.
Susie, thank you.
And Susie, what's the name of your group, your entertainment group?
SHC Music Tribe.
SHC Music Tribe.
Music
So
Tribe.
check that out.
All
Thank you,
right.
Susie.
Again, everybody, thank you for tuning in. Without you, this wouldn't be possible. You are in the music room.